We have a Nathan Allen Monteith, 42-year-old white male of Spindale, served with a true bill of indictment, given a $5,000 secured bond. Under our incident reports, we have a report of a larceny motor vehicle from Ferry Road in Mooresboro. Looks like suspect took a 1992 Ford blue in color Ranger pickup truck, displaying a tag number of ZXL9102 in that incident. We have another incident of larceny motor vehicle from 289 Nolan Road in Mooresboro. Looks like the suspect took a gray and blue in color 2014 Chevy Silverado pickup truck, displaying a tag number of JKZ4574 in that incident. We have a felony larceny from Big Island Road in Rutherford. Looks like the suspect took a utility trailer in that incident. We have a attempted breaking and entering from Lane Road in Rutherford. Looks like the suspect attempted to break in the victim's garage. And last but not least, we have another larceny motor vehicle from Duncan's Creek Road in Bostic. Looks like the suspect took a white truck, Chevy S10 in that incident. That's all we have to report.
The Braves are making a push to a 5th straight division title, and Atlanta's young talent is answering the call.
2-1 pitch. There's a missile. Deep right, back towards the corner. Damage done by Matt Olson.
Tonight, it's the final game of this enormous series against the New York Mets in Atlanta as Matt Olson and the Braves look for a big division win. Braves radio's on the air at 6:05 Eastern, 5:05 Central on the Braves Radio Network.
This is 100.9 FM and the mighty 590. The best of both worlds, Rutherfordton.
Tomorrow night starts the exciting season of high school football, and our game of the week is going to be McDowell at RS Central. We'll have that game 7:15 airtime, 7:30 kickoff. Join us for that live game right here on 100.9 FM, 590 AM. Speaking of sports, here it is.
NCN Sports, I'm Jeff Hamlin. Tensions continue to rise between the New England Patriots and the Carolina Panthers leading up to their preseason game tomorrow night at Gillette Stadium. For the second straight day on Wednesday, the Panthers and the Patriots got into a brawl during a joint practice. The melee spilled into the stands with running back Christian McCaffrey being thrown to the ground. Meanwhile, The Athletic reports that Baker Mayfield will be named the starting quarterback of the Panthers for its opener against the Cleveland Browns in Week 1, September 13th. Mayfield was acquired from the Cleveland Browns earlier this summer. He started the Panthers' first exhibition game last weekend against Washington. Moving on to Charlotte FC in Major League Soccer. Last night, Charlotte defeats the defending MLS Cup champions, New York City FC 3-1. High Point native and former Charlotte 49er Brant Bronico scored the game-winning goal off an assist by Karol Swiderski in the 77th minute. Swiderski opened the game with a goal in the 4th minute. In extra time, Christian Fuchs added insurance with a penalty kick. Charlotte ends a 2-game losing streak. They are now 1 point behind Orlando City for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. In United Soccer League 1 last night, Union Omaha edged Charlotte Independence 2-1. Corey Bennett scored the opening goal of the game for Charlotte off a penalty kick in the 51st minute. In minor league baseball in the International League, the Durham Bulls continue to roll. They have won 5 straight after beating the Norfolk Tides 4-3 last night in Virginia. The Bulls now lead the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs by 2 games in the International League's East Division. Also in the International League, the Charlotte Knights edged the Syracuse Mets 8-7 last night at Truist Field. You're listening to Sports from NCN.
North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance was just named one of America's best insurance companies by Forbes and the nation's best auto insurer in Crash Network's Insurer Report Card for the 3rd year in a row. Sometimes being the best means being a little different. Our difference is our people. And with agents in every county, you've got local, award-winning service right in your backyard. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Helping you is what we do best.
If you are a victim of crime and your offender is currently serving time in the adult correction system, NC Savin is a free confidential service to help you find peace of mind by learning your rights and receiving updates on your offender status. NC Savin educates victims and connects you to meaningful victim assistance resources. Register today at ncsavin.org. That's NCSAVAN.org. This message is from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety.
It appeared the Tampa Bay Rays were ready to sweep the New York Yankees until Josh Donaldson came through in the clutch, hitting a dramatic walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning last night. The Yankees salvaged a game in its series from the Rays, beating Tampa Bay 8-7. Meanwhile, Brett Beatty homered in his first time up in the big leagues, and Sterling Marte went deep twice, and the New York Mets defeat the Atlanta Braves 9-7. That ends Atlanta's 8-game winning streak. LeBron James has agreed to a 2-year, $97.1 million contract extension through the 2024-2025 season with the Los Angeles Lakers. It is a maximum deal that includes a player option for the 2024-2025 season that will keep LeBron with the Lakers past his 40th birthday. That's sports. I'm Jeff Hamlin on NCN.
We're tracking a few isolated showers here for our Thursday. Otherwise, we'll see partly cloudy skies and highs in the low 80s. Into tonight, we drop into the upper 60s with mostly cloudy skies and a few isolated showers. Friday is looking a little bit wetter into the afternoon. I think we'll start the day off fairly dry, but we'll see a few showers and storms into the afternoon. More clouds than sunshine, and highs will only make it into the upper 70s and low 80s, and just a touch of humidity as well. I'm meteorologist Anthony Baglione in the Weather Center.
And we've reached 66 from a milestone of 65. We've edged up one more degree, and it'll be climbing up after the sun now has been out a while. Expecting it to reach about 76, about 10 more degrees, and that'll be our high for today. It's 8:30. This is WCAB in Rutherfordton. Been telling you about a guest I had coming in the studio this morning with me. Love to have guests. Love to talk to local folks who do exceptional things. And my guest this morning is Dr. Jeff Pate. He's the author of a new novel called Spirit of Fear. He's also the pastor of Adel Baptist Church, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Jeff, glad to have you this morning.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Is this your first novel, or have you written before?
This is my first published novel, yes. I like to write. I've always loved creative writing and using that, I guess, that expression I'm a musician as well, so I like to write songs and things like that. But I guess I was just an avid reader. And, of course, with my background, I was raised Catholic, and then I became, as a teenager, kind of referred to myself as an atheist, and then was actually saved in a Pentecostal church before God opened the door for me to be in Baptist ministry. So I have a really colorful theological past, but through all of that, I've always believed in the power of the supernatural, and storytelling in the Bible is something God used to do amazing things. So I've always loved that. But I would read these books from, let's say, secular authors like Dean Koontz, Stephen King, Peter Straub, and they may be very entertaining, but I felt like it was vacuous as far as theological content. It was just a shot in the dark. And then I would read Christian authors sometimes, your Frank Peretti, Ted Decker, Bill Myers, and I would think, well, it's entertaining, it's good, and it's reasonably wholesome, but it felt like it just missed the mark. Like it didn't really have the same bite. So I told my wife, I said, you know what I'm going to do, honey? I'm going to write the scariest, most theologically accurate book I can. And that was really the catalyst for Spirit of Fear.
Yeah. Well, I was reading what they have online about you. The book is called Theological Thriller. Mm-hmm. Theological Thriller explores the complexities of the Christian faith set behind a dark supernatural storyline. The supernatural, does it delve into the dark side of the spirit world, or how do you deal with that?
It does. It's a real I think a relatable storyline. The main character is just an everyday guy. He's a good guy. He doesn't really go to church with his family. He's just maybe your average American. Hopes and dreams. He loves his family very much. And then something that happened in his past has come back to sort of haunt him in a sense. And he has no idea that it's a spiritual battle. He thinks everything is black or white, cut and dry. But his best friend, who actually in college became a believer, comes and is walking by his side through the whole turmoil and starts trying to get him to see, I think this is bigger than this. I think there's a supernatural edge to this. There's something happening. Because, a lot of people are just, I use the term ignorant, not to belittle somebody, but just ignorant of I would say the spiritual realm, demons and angels, God and Satan. And we like to sort of sugarcoat everything and make it more palatable. But in the book, I sort of lift the veil and show people, say, listen, here's some everyday stuff going on, and you want to have a human answer, a natural response, but it's actually more of a supernatural issue. And you fight supernatural battles with supernatural weapons. And that's the impetus, pretty much.
When you're writing a book like this, a novel, either, I guess, a biography or any kind of thing, how difficult is it to keep that pattern going, that same thought process going? Do you hit dry spots from time to time, or is it flow pretty easily?
Well, when I'm in the zone, it flows, But the irony is that book took probably, I would say, close to 10 years before I sat down and I began writing it and sketching out the characters and would just take, evenings to just write and then I'd go and I'd edit. And then for a while there, I switched careers. I switched locations. I was raised in Georgia. I began writing that. My wife and I lived in New Orleans for a couple years, and New Orleans plays a role in that book as well as does North Georgia. And so I was working on it for a while, and then, of course, we moved up to Colowee and Silva, and I switched even jobs, and so I kind of put it on hold for a while, and then I'd pick it back up. And long story short, several dry spells until finally I thought, I got to really pull the trigger on this thing. It's been going forever. If I'm ever going to publish a book, I need to do it now. And my wife was very supportive, and so we self-published. I shopped it around at some places, and it was funny the responses I got, but I chose a self-publishing route, which allowed me a little more freedom, and it's been pretty fun so far.
Do you anticipate in your mind that to be a follow-up of this particular theme, or will you write others, I know, but are you going to follow up on this theme?
I think so. The characters, I fell in love with some of the characters in that book, and I think they'll be around again later if the Lord allows me to continue to write on the side. I have no desire to become a full-time novelist. I love what I do. I love being a pastor, but that's a wonderful side hobby, I suppose, or a passion, if you will. And I'm already working on a second book, and it doesn't have any of these characters, but I've envisioned storylines where they cross over and kind of reappear. So,
of course, I've not yet had the privilege of reading. I appreciate you sharing this book with me. I want to read that book. But when I read books, I often think, this will make a good movie for TV.
Sure.
Is that the kind of book this is?
I think so. I've actually had several people say when they were reading it, they're like, I can imagine this scene happening.
Yeah.
And we're very visual people, and I'm a visual person as well. And so as I write it, I am envisioning something. And now I fear, of course, that like any good thing, it could be turned into a cheesy production that nobody wants to see. And that would be something I would certainly not want to happen, but I think it leans itself to that, to theater.
Yeah. From the time you finally decided to write the book, this is finalized to the one in hand right now. How long does that take? Is that a long process? Do you get a lot of rejections? No.
Well, the rejections are not necessarily in the form of it's not good, get out of here, but it was ironically, I shopped the Christian markets first, and the answer I got from two different major Christian publishers was, I'm sorry, your content doesn't meet our standards of language because it's too dark, it's too graphic. And I thought, well, it's PG-13, I would guess, in my mind. Like, I don't take it too far. I'm not trying to just, throw caution to the wind. But I thought, I've read books by, like I said, Decker and Peretti and some of these guys. I know what they're talking about. This falls right in line with that. But their standards were there, and so it led me to shop it on the self-publishing. And so Reader's Digest has a line called Life Rich Publishing, and they read it and they said, hey, yeah, it's fine. You can publish it as is. They didn't require any changes, and so that's the route we went.
That's great. Now, how was the book available? Where can folks get a hold of it?
Well, primarily, I think people are finding it through Amazon.com, and it's just Spirit of Fear, Jeff Pate, and sold a handful of copies on there for sure. And then you can go to LifeRichPublishing.com, where I wrote it, and order it directly from them. It's instant print status, so whenever I run out of copies, they just print more for on demand. But I've also got some locally here down at Next Door Used Books. She's selling it for me as well, and so you can see Kiowa down there and pick up a local copy. And I've always got some on my bookshelf if you just come by and say, hey, can I have a book?
Do you plan on having any autograph sessions where they come meet the author and sign the books?
I mean, that'd be great. I haven't necessarily planned anything, but I'm open to it. I love to meet people and talk with them and see them and kind of explain anything and answer questions and stuff. I think it's fun to meet people that have created something and ask them a few questions, so I'm certainly willing to do that for anybody who's interested.
A lot of people are fascinated with the authors of books and how you come up with the creativity of the book. I think it would be great to set up something somewhere where folks come by and meet the author, maybe the, libraries or somewhere, Smith's drugstore, and come by and meet the author and sign the book and pick up one.
Sure, that'd be fun.
Be great, wouldn't it? All right, Jeff Pate, my guest this morning. He's the author of a novel called Spirit of Fear, and actually it's a softback book, easy to get a hold. Is it easy to read? I guess easy to read.
Yeah, pretty easy to read.
So I'm anxious to look for that. Tim McDaniel is on his way home from work when a phone call shatters his world. I'll give you a little tease here. While explaining to his wife, Liz, that he's delayed in some road work, she suddenly chides him for a practical joke, insisting she sees him in the driveway holding flowers and on his cell phone. So it leads from that point on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Jeff, good luck with this book.
Thank you, sir.
And keep writing and keep us posted on the next book, and we'll have you come back and introduce that next one.
Sounds great.
Good to see you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be back in just a moment.
When inflation bites, bite back with a great data deal from Carolina West Wireless. For a limited time, get unlimited data for only $25 per line for 4 lines on our super fast 5G network. You deserve a better data deal. It's time to overjoy, not overpay. Try us risk-free for 30 days. You'll be glad you did. Carolina West Wireless. Go stay connected. Certain restrictions or conditions may apply. See store for details or visit carolinawest.com/terms and conditions.
Interesting conversation there with Dr. Jeff Pate. He authored the new book, a novel called Spirit of Fear. He's also pastor of Adel Baptist Church. He has served as youth pastor, campus pastor, as a worship leader before becoming a senior pastor. He loves the power of storytelling and has a keen interest in the unseen supernatural world. Jeff loves Jesus, his family, and good coffee. And apparently he likes good books because looks like he's written a good one. I'm anxious to read it. And when I read it, I'll tell you all about it. I hope you can find it on the market. All right, some stories from here and there real quickly. Then I'll make room for My Great America with Jim and Butch coming up at 9:05. So it's always fascinating to hear things that are happening out there in the real world. We get sometimes enclosed in our small world of getting up in the mornings and having coffee, maybe going to work and taking the kids to work. And I find things all the time that interesting. Some of the ads last month, the Food and Nutrition Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture declared it will stop poor students from being fed lunch through the National School Lunch Program that we the people pay for with our tax dollars if their public school does not embrace the administration's interpretation of Title IX, which maintains that the federal civil rights law provision that forbids discrimination that is based on sex includes designation of gender identity and gender identity. This means that schools throughout the country will be forced to comply with all the pro-transgender policies in things like sports, housing, locker rooms, and bathrooms if they want to continue receiving federal funds to feed their low-income students. That's right. Joe Biden is forcing schools to adhere to policies geared to enable people who suffer from mental illness or your kids don't get to eat. What does a low-income children lunch program have to do with LGBTQ+? What does that have to do with anything? Isn't it unlawful for the executive branch to take money that was appropriated by Congress for a specific purpose and then deny the funding over another policy, a program that has nothing to do with the congressional appropriation? They do as they want to do up in Washington with the left. Remember when Democrats bled from their eyes when former President Donald Trump asked if it was allowed to take budgeted money from another program to help him build a wall on the southern border? Remember all the accusations of misappropriating funds? And now they're misappropriating funds because some schools won't adhere to the LGBTQ woke policy. So they're saying maybe they just cut out those funds, and the poor kids who've been getting them won't get them anymore. That's what we look at when we look at folks who are running for office. Yep, it's a major battle going on out there, folks. The real reason transgender groomers are targeting America's children, David Kuplan, published in WorldNet Daily. Twitter recently banned the term groomer as being anti-LGBT. However, groomer is precisely the right term to describe those involved in today's widespread phenomenon of gender activists indoctrinating, seducing, and flat-out recruiting American children into identifying as transgender. Have you noticed that? They're encouraging kids to identify as transgender. This has already led to a bunch of children taking powerful and dangerous drugs, undergoing double mastectomies and chemical or surgical castration, resulting tragically, but not surprisingly, in an astronomical suicide rate. How can this possibly happen in America? We love America. We don't love what America is becoming, but we do love America. Let's start at the beginning for a few minutes by clearly stating out loud today's forbidden truth. It is literally impossible for a male to become a female or for a female to become a male. It's just literally impossible, folks, regardless of what they tell you on television, regardless of what this administration tells you, regardless of what you're reading in any kind of book or magazine. It's impossible for a male to become a female, for a female to become a male, regardless how much they cut their bodies. The entire human race, which is to say virtually all people of every ethnicity, skin color, religion, political ideology, and socioeconomic status, recognized this truth from the beginning of human life on Earth until around 2013. That's when the powerful LGBT lobby pressured and intimidated the notoriously weak-kneed American Psychiatric Association into pathologizing gender identity disorder in the 5th edition of its Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, so-called DSM-5,